Joining in. So today I have conference with me who are gonna take up this community call to discuss all our new features and updates that we have released in the past month. Uh, so we are gonna wait for like a minute and then get started. So if you have any questions, you can ping us on chat. Myself and conference will be taking all those questions in the end. So with that being said, I'm gonna head it over to conference. Who's gonna take over now?
All right, so I'm going to share my screen. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah, conference.
All right, cool. So thank you so much for joining us in today's community call. Everyone is welcome. And I'd like to start by sharing updates that we have from GitHub. So I'd like to announce that we have reached 8,000 GitHub stars, and that is very awesome. It's only possible because of the love and support we've received from every one of you from the community. So thank you so much for your love, for your support, for your feedback in making the product really nice. You're all awesome. And on a similar tangent, I would also like to thank everyone who participated in the Appsmith Hacktoberfest. October just ended, and last month was really, really nice for us. We had lots of contributions from the community. We had code contributions, we had blogs, we had tutorials, and the list keeps going on. And we even had video contributions as well. So thank you so much for participating and for making last month really memorable for everyone. All right. So for today's call, we have a couple of product updates that we are going to take. And you can see that we have a couple of features and fixes that have been released in the past week. So we are going to start with the product update. The first update is that you can now add many buttons to the table widget. The table widget is our most used widget on Appsmith, and we keep adding new features in order to make the table widget more powerful to suit whatever use you would have for it. Now you can create many buttons within the table widget, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to go to my Appsmith dashboard, try to edit this application. All right. And I'm just going to go to the widget section and drop in a table widget. So we have a table widget right here. And let's create a new column. So I'm just going to create a new custom column. And you can see that column right here. So I did this column to be a menu button. What I need to do is to set the column type to menu button right here. You also have the icon button, but for this update, we're talking about the menu button. So let's set it to menu button. And you can see that we have the menu button here showing up on the column. You can go in to add items to this button by clicking on the add new menu item. So I'm just going to add two items. And taking a look at this, you can see that we have those two items showing up. This is really nice because the functionality of adding menu buttons within a table is very similar to the standalone menu button widget. And that means you can go in to customize this as you wish and even style it. So for example, you can make this rounded and give this some shadow. And you see we have a really nice menu button right here. And for the menu items, you can even go in to create icons for each item. So I'm just going to set the icon to a plus icon. And if you take a look at the first menu item here, we have a plus icon showing up. So you can go in to customize this and use this as you normally would the standalone menu button. And this feature is going to make it really easy for you to build complex workflows using the table widget. So now you have the power to do that on Appsmith. So let's go back to the slide. The next feature I'm going to share with you is that we now have a new clean UI across Appsmith. And when I saw this, I was like, who turned on the lights? It's really nice and it's really sleek. I really love this design. So to show you how this looks like, you already saw this a bit. So let's go back to the dashboard view. So in the dashboard view, you have this light themed UI with a nice looking application, previews, and you can go in to also see this new touch of theme in the editor. So I'm just going to go to the editor. And right in the editor, you can see that the Entity Explorer has been redesigned. We now have an Explorer tab and a Widgets tab, and you can easily move through whichever you want to work with at each point in time. I really like this nice, I really like the light theme. It's really nice. And aside of aesthetics, one reason why we made this UI improvement is to improve accessibility. So we've noticed that it is easy to see dark text in a light background because the contrast ratio of dark text in a white background is really high. So that's one reason why we made this change to make it easy for you to read text in your application and also make it easy for you to navigate through various parts of the application. But we also know that some users really love the dark theme. And for these users, we'll be bringing back the dark theme really soon so that you'll be able to opt in to use whichever theme you prefer. All right. All right. So the next feature I'd like to share with you is that we have added support for collapsible property pane options. We keep adding new options and configurations to widgets in the property pane. And because of the number of features that a particular widget might have, the property pane can start to feel claustrophobic. So we are taking suggestions and feedback from users in the community in order to improve this experience. And to this front, we have made it possible to collapse property pane options. So I'm just going to show this to you. So let's head back to the application. And right here, we have the table widget. So because the table widget is a very complex widget, we have lots of options under the table widget, as you can see. These are a lot. And you can even go in to find more options in the table widget. But right now, you have the ability to collapse property pane options, and this is going to make it easy for you to focus on what you're working on. So we have the general section, so I can just collapse this, and we have everything under the general hidden. You can also collapse the actions, the header options, the styles, and here you have everything collapsed. So say, for example, you are working on the action section, you can easily open this and focus really on what you're working on. So this makes it easy for you to focus and not be distracted by the other options that may be visible on the property pane. All right. The next feature I'm going to share with you is the release of two new JavaScript functions. So we have released the set interval function and the clear interval function, and these have been highly requested by users in the community. So I'm so happy to share this with you right now, despite the challenges we had that prevented us from releasing this sooner. I also like to use the opportunity to shout out to all the engineers who worked on this feature. It's a really needed feature, and it's going to really simplify and it's going to simplify the app building experience and enable you to build more complex applications on Appsmith. So I have something prepared to show you how to make use of this feature. So let's head to the other tab. Here, I have a simple application that fetches data from Google Sheets using the Get Books API. And we have all the books coming from the sheets displayed here on the table widget. So if you take a look at this, you have data from the Get Books query displayed on the table widget. Now, with the release of the set interval and clear interval functions, you can now add features like auto updates to your application. So I'm just going to show you this. We have a switch here. Turning the switch on would enable auto updates, as you can see. And we can turn this off and then take a look at what we have right inside of this switch. So taking a look at the code we have within the switch, on the onChange action, we have some codes that controls auto updates. So whenever the switch is switched on, as you can see here, what we are doing is making use of the set interval function to call the getBooks query. The set interval function accepts three parameters. The first is the function you want to run. The second parameter is the interval you want that function to be executed. And lastly, you have the interval ID, which is a string to represent the ID of that interval. In this sample code here, we have the interval ID set to auto update string. And similarly, for the clear interval function, all you need to do is pass in the interval ID you want to clear, and it is going to stop auto update. So for this code we have right here, the get books query would be run or executed every 2 seconds. So we can go back to turn this on. and we have the query being run every 2 seconds. So if I go back to the Google Sheets that this is actually pulling from and updates this sheet to something else, like say, for example, uh, woman, okay, I'm going to save this. Heading back to the application, you notice that we have that change displayed, and that is because now we have configured auto updates. So this is a really nice feature because it's going to really help you if you need real-time polling in your applications. Now with the set interval and clear interval functions, you would be able to have that in your applications. All right, now we have the option to deploy Appsmith in various environments. In fact, this is probably the biggest update for today. So drum roll, please. Now you can deploy Appsmith in various devices and ARM architectures. This includes Raspberry Pis and M1 Macs. So if you have a Raspberry Pi server and you would want to run Appsmith on that server, with this update, you would be able to easily run Appsmith in Docker on Raspberry Pi, which has an ARM architecture. And if you use an M1 Mac, now you'll be able to use Appsmith more smoothly because we now have support for ARM architectures. To add to this, you can also use Helm charts to deploy Appsmith on Kubernetes. So if you work with Kubernetes, you will find this really convenient. So if you'd love to learn more about these updates, I'm going to leave a link in the chat section right now so that you can read more about them. So let's leave this link. Okay, I can't copy the link. I'm just going to share it later on. Or maybe Viha can share this link with me. Okay, I have the link now. And I'm going to paste this in so that you can learn more about the features that have been released.
Thanks, conference. Thanks a lot for sharing us all the updates that we had shipped in the last month. So can't wait to use these all in building internal tools. Yeah, I can see the blog post of a roundup where we had documented all the features that we have shipped in the last month. So in case if you have any questions, or in case if you want to understand more about how to use these features, you can learn through that, or alternatively you can also take a look at our documentation. So in terms of questions, conference, so Favor tells us that he can't wait for the dark theme. So on that, we soon have our widget theming feature coming up soon. So probably with that, you can also style all your widget inside your application. But of course, dark theme is for your experience, for the UI experience. Our team is seriously working on that to uh, ship in the further releases. So
All right.
Paul asks a question: can you avoid to refresh grid clearing all the data with the update?
I Okay,
Uh,
okay. Do you mean the auto update feature I just showed with set interval and clear interval? Is that what you mean?
okay,
Um, let's just wait for confirmation. Okay, assuming that is what you have in mind, I'm just going to go back to the application. So the reason why we have, let me just turn this back on. So the reason why we have the entire table refreshing is because the data used in this table is coming from the getBooks query, and we are calling or running the getBooks query every time. So it means that the entire data in the table widget would need to be updated. So that's why we have the table widgets being refreshed like this. And probably in the future, we would come up with a way to only fetch changes that have been made. So maybe that's a feature that you should look out for sometime in the future.
Uh, so I think that should answer your question, Paulo. If not, you can send us a message here, or you can also raise an issue on our GitHub repo. So we have one more question from David Conference. Would it blank screen if it was auto refreshing from a database query? Okay, I think it's the question for the other one.
So it's going to be the same experience as what was shown in the application from Google Sheets. So the query would be executed in your database, And between the time the query is sent and the response comes back, there'll be a loading animation on the table, for example, or on whatever widget that data is being fed into. So it's going to be very similar, even if you're using a database as a source.
So alternatively, just to avoid it, I think we can increase the interval time, like from 2 seconds to probably like 10 seconds, so that we won't see that refreshing screen all the time.
Yes.
It's distracting for it, as it takes the attention away. That's one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can always change the interval time. So the second parameter is basically the time there. So probably there you can add like 10,000 milliseconds, so that the API will refresh after 10 seconds.
Yeah. That's going to fix it.
Any other question, folks? We'll be ending the call in like couple of minutes if there are any questions. And with that being said, we have lots of new features for the next month. Uh, so like can't wait to share them with you all. Probably in our next call we would be doing a community call where we'll showcase all the upcoming features.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one more question. On our demo video in the left panel, there is JS object. Pankaj, do you want to take that question?
All right. Yes. So JS Object is the name we're calling right now the JS editor that has been requested a lot by community members. So if you, okay, I'm not going to show you this right now so that you get to see it later on, and you see it when it is released. It's something that is going to be released very soon. And in a nutshell, it allows you to write JavaScript in a much better environment. So let me show you something quickly if you are used to writing JavaScript in Appsmith. So let's just go ahead. So if you notice in the updates, auto update switch we have here, we're writing JavaScript inside the property pane, and this is really small. It's going to be very difficult if I'm going to do something more complex than what we have right here. So we have the JS objects feature, which is going to give you a better experience writing JavaScript. So you're going to have a full screen editor that allows you to write more complex JavaScript and maintain your code easily. So that is going to be released very soon. Hopefully, in the next 2 weeks, you'd see this. So just wait till then, and you have the opportunity to play around with the JS object feature.
Right. On that note, we actually have this on our release. Not release. I think it's only activated for Appsmith users. Abhishek had already shared those credentials on our Discord channel. So I'm gonna share you that in case if you want to see them. But it's gonna be launched soon. Probably in next couple of months, you'll definitely see a JS editor on Appsmith. But we'll definitely share you the deploy previews once they are ready in production. Okay, confidence is 2 weeks, but yeah, we will update you guys soon on that. All right, I think that's it for today. Thank you all for joining us. In case if you have any questions, feel free to ping us on our Discord channel. uh, thank you all for joining in.